Hello everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I'm going to bring you kind of a quick video of some things I've been playing with and some things I have been making. I've really been inspired lately by watching the Tim Holtz videos that he has been doing on Saturdays for his Q&As. I've learned quite a bit about the products that I already have in my own stash and that I love, some that I didn't have in my stash, a couple that I've now gained in my stash, things that I love. And so I just wanted to kind of share with you what I've been doing behind the scenes and playing with them. I don't have a big project for you today, but I'm going to show you kind of what I have been playing with these particular inks. So one of the videos that he did was on distress ink pads. So after watching that and learning so much, I decided, okay, I'm going to pull out a family of blue and I'm just going to play with the products and see what I can come up with. So I pulled out, I have this set that I had picked up at Michael's, I think, a long time ago, probably, I don't even know how long ago, long enough that the texture paste is no good. It was too hard, I had to throw it out. But it had some spray stains, it had a stencil, had a palette knife. I didn't use any of that for these, except for the paper that it came with. So it came with some of the multimedia craft stock from Ranger. It came with some of the tags that Tim Holtz uses. So that's where I started. I started with these two pieces to see what I could do using these four colors. I thought, I'm going to keep it in the blue family. Don't know what I'm going to do with these. I may even cut pieces off to say this is the effect that you get using the different papers, because I did use those. Also knowing that I don't have very much of either one of these two papers. So I started with the blue family. So I pulled out the blues that I have in full-size distress. I didn't go through and find what, I may have a couple more in minis, I don't know. But I just pulled out these blues. Speckled Egg isn't really a blue, but it fit. Ice Spruce, also kind of not really a blue, but it worked with Faded Jeans and Broken China. So those were the four colors I had. And I pulled the paper out and I just started, I smushed them down on my mat here. I spritzed them with water, ran my tag through it, dried it, layered it, dried it, layered it until I found something that I liked. So this was the tag. Of course, it holds up beautifully. Obviously, I would have to do something to the back of that unless it was going down on something solid. But it holds up beautifully. I definitely, this is something that it looks so easy and it's not hard, but it's very much something that I think the more times you do it, the better you're going to get at it, just like anything in life. And so I definitely want to practice some more. But the other thing is you don't have to be a pro and you can still turn out with something great. So that was the one of the pieces I did. And then I pulled the multimedia cardstock and played with it again. I'm not sure which I did first, but again, this actually turned out really pretty. It held up really well to the water. And the different layers and drying and everything. And then I pulled a piece of watercolor paper. I think of the backgrounds that I am showing you today for cards or projects like that. This one may be my favorite. I don't know, it's probably a pretty close toss-up between these two. But I like the texture. I chose to use the smoother side of the cardstock, and I can't even remember, or I never really knew which cardstock this was. I just kind of pulled a piece that was hanging loose in my pile. So I don't know if this is Tim Holtz cardstock or if it was just a piece that I had. I suspect it's probably the Tim Holtz Distress cardstock because I had it out and the way it's cut, I just suspect that's what it is, but I really don't know. But I really like the way it turned out. So I finished it all up, had it all photographed nice and neat to put on Instagram, was going to post it, and then I was like, well, wait a minute. So you do have watercolor cardstock, and Tim Holtz watercolor distress cardstock is pretty available in my area without buying online or anything. So I can replace that, and then I have other watercolor, so I'm not too worried about that one. But these two aren't as quick for me to get unless I order it. And so I thought, well, what can you do with what you already have? So let's set this aside. So I thought, okay, different day, I'll play and do some more. So I went into my stash and I pulled out some of my cardstock that I have. Now I have to tell you that I kind of thought it's probably not going to hold up really well by the time you put all the water. And again, this is not watercolor cardstock. This is just plain crafting, scrapbooking cardstock for my stash. And I thought it's probably not going to hold up as well, but let's try it and see. So I tried 3 different ones, and I will show them to you and what I have. This first one is, I have to look at it because I don't even know. This was the Close to My Heart White Daisy cardstock that, you know, back from my Close to My Heart days that I had. And so it actually held up pretty well. I think as I was working with it between layers and everything, I think if one was going to shred by adding too much water, it might be this one. I didn't get it to that point, but it just felt like on the top that it might get to that point. So I don't know if I would want to do a whole lot more layers than what I did. Now, I didn't count the layers. I have no idea how many I did. But it actually held up well, and I'll be able to do something with it, so we're okay. So then this one that I used actually probably of the 3 surprised me the most after I opened it. I had picked up this cardstock from Walmart. It's Nina, it's 65 pound, just their basic, or their bright white 65 pound that you can actually get at Walmart. And when I pulled it out and how thin it felt, I thought, that's probably not going to hold up well. It's probably really going to be one that's going to peel off. And surprisingly, it didn't. I don't appreciate any kind of peeling in it at all. Now, again, maybe if I did more layers, maybe it would. But I was satisfied with this print that I made, so I didn't try anymore. So I was pleasantly surprised it actually held up well. Now, I would not use this for a card base anyway. It's just mighty thin. So when I decide what project I'm going to use on it, I actually bought it for card bases. I just, now that I felt it, I don't know that it is the best use for that. I don't know. I'll have to make some and see. But it actually held up to the technique well. So then the final one was just plain, cheap, Georgia Pacific or whatever the Walmart brand, Top Gear or Georgia Pacific or whatever it is that you get from Walmart, and it's a heavier weight, and it actually held up better than I anticipated. In fact, I thought it's really not shredding or peeling at all. Now, after I quit working with it and when I went back, I see this little white spot here. I can't tell, and I haven't tried to layer over it because once I saw it, I thought, well, I'll just ink around the edge, or I may end up just die cutting this anyway, so it's no big loss. But it does make me question if that's a peel spot, if that's something that I would have to be careful with this cardstock. So again, I was all done and ready to start photographing, and then it hit me, wait a minute. What would it do on your Tomoe River paper? Now, obviously you can't make cards out of Tomoe River paper, but if you have followed me at all, you know that I love to use Tomoe River paper in my journals, and that's actually what I make my journaling inserts out of. And I thought, I have no idea if this is going to work because I don't know how porous it is. I don't know if it's going to absorb the ink or if it's just going to slide right off. Well, I should have thought that through because I use it for watercoloring in my journals all the time, and it actually did beautifully. So this is the cream color, and this is the white color. I can tell by looking at the back, and I love the way it took the ink. It almost, I don't want to say it gives it an alcohol ink effect, but it's similar to what you might catch with an alcohol ink effect. I love the way that it just, I don't know, the lines and everything, it just is just beautiful. That's just all I can say. It's just beautiful. So I'm not sure how I would apply this in my journal. That would take some creative carefulness, or else I would have to do both sides of the journal at the same time, which maybe I would do. Maybe I would just do a whole 2-page, you know, and just kind of let it plop there and see what it would do. I think it would be a little bit more interesting to do with having that bulk of the whole journal in a book form. You could also, I guess, do it before and just prep some pages like this. You'd have to be careful about writing over the top of it. I think I would have to have the right pen, but still some ideas. I think it's something I'm going to try in my journal. So I really like the way that these turned out. And so I'm just going to show you very quickly kind of how I achieved this. I'm not an expert. I still have a lot to learn. This particular piece of paper is a piece of Georgia Pacific, that cheaper cardstock. And I've already put a couple layers on it. And I'm going to just show you in the same palette that I kind of arrange. All of these I use the exact same palette on. So I started out with Speckled Egg up in that corner, and then I went with Ice Spruce, and then from there I went down to Faded Jean, and from there I went down to the Broken China. Now in my piece here, you can see that right here, this is where the Ice Spruce, I didn't realize how gray it was until I really started playing with this technique. That first pass through, it's almost startling the way that it looks. But the more passes you put, as you build layer upon layer, it actually is just stunning. So took that, sprayed it down. I discovered when I was doing this in the way that I was doing it, I could get a good 2 passes through. A third one, maybe if I was just trying to pick up corners, I could go ahead and do it, but much more than that was too much. So do a layer and then dry. So I'm just using my embossing tool. I don't have a heat tool. After watching all the videos with Tim Holtz, I really debated about getting one just because it's more dispersed heat, but I think I can work around it and use the tools that I have and save myself the 20 bucks that it would cost me. So this time I want to just kind of concentrate some of those dots up in the top in the white space. I'm going to come down here and do the same. Now I just did a no-no of going wet on wet. Hopefully it will not be enough that it will make it gray, kind of muddied out. I don't think it did. The other thing that I learned is you're really not supposed to drag it like I just did, but I did anyway. So again, you just keep going over and over it until you get the effect that you want. I never really counted, but I would guess that probably to achieve these backgrounds, it was probably 6 maybe passes by the time I was satisfied with the background. The first one definitely was never satisfied with. So those are just some of the things that we're playing with. I'm not going to keep building on this. I will when off camera, but you kind of get the idea. I could even go in if I wanted to and kind of spray this down and move it around, because that's the beauty of what distress inks do. Kind of just let them move around. I'm not loving the speckles in there, so it's definitely going to need some layers because I picked up a lot of bead drops in there. So again, it's just practicing and playing with it. So I hope that inspires you to go in, play with your distress inks. If you have some, get them out. See what you can do with the colors you have. See if you can make some fun things. If you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, I've done some things with some other colors. I've done it with some Distress Oxide inks. I've made some great backgrounds with that. And I've only made one card out of everything I've been playing with, because right now I'm just trying to get a feel for the product. Really get better familiar with how to use it, and then I'll have a nice little background stash so that I can make all sorts of fun things. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.